You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
What is up, good people? I hope you are doing well. I hope you're full of turkey. I'm still full of turkey. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe I should get that checked out. I'm not sure. Anyway, probably didn't need to say that publicly, but I did. And here we are. Anyhow, this episode should have came out closer to GearFest back when I released that whole block of GearFest episodes. But I actually made a slight mistake because there were some other episodes that I recorded around the time that those were releasing that needed to come out at a certain time. And this didn't have like a time frame, and it kind of got shoved to the side. And I totally should not have done that because this is a very interesting sector of the musical instruments industry that Dan and Krystal from Online Marketing cover. And I don't think that it's talked about very often. I think very few people even know that jobs and firms and companies like that exist within this space. And so while, yes, we do get into some of the products that they represent, what is more interesting to me is the very beginning where they discuss actually how the company works and what their role within this industry is. And again, it gives people some context for different ways you can work in the music industry, because I think we all tend to focus on being the artist, being the one doing the recording, being the one on stage. And if you can't do that, I think a lot of people have the perception, at least I did, that you don't belong in the music industry or that you can't be in the music industry and be connected to some of these cool things that are related to the music industry. But the reality is there are thousands and thousands of jobs that are tied to the music industry. And this is one that I think almost nobody knows about because I certainly didn't know about it. And I'm pretty well tied into all this stuff. So without further ado, let's get into this one with Dan and Krystal from Online Marketing. I think you're really going to enjoy it. We go over a lot of fun stuff, including some cool products, but especially them and their roles. So let's dive right into this right now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about stuff that and we're talking about everything this week. I say guitar stuff sometimes, but now it's like, I'm talking to mic companies, I'm talking to interface companies, I'm talking to everything. But today, I'm talking to Dan and Krystal from Online Marketing, who represent a bunch of different brands that make stuff that you need. So here we are. Maybe we should start with kind of the, what exactly do you guys do? I think it's a sector of the industry that consumers are generally not familiar with, I would say.
Yeah, we were hoping you'd tell us what we do. Yeah. So we are. I'm Dan. This is Krystal. We are from an independent rep firm called Online Marketing. The way that the music industry and pro audio industry kind of function is there are lots of small, medium, and large manufacturers. And it's really difficult for any manufacturer to cover all of the United States or all of a certain region and go to every store and check in on every customer and handle all the support and so forth. So independent reps for certain brands will cover a territory, and we will kind of be that ground team for a manufacturer. And so that's what we do. Now, our firm covers the Great Lakes region, and so we have some brands that we work at within this geographical location, but we, Krystal and myself, are solely focused here in-house at Sweetwater. So because Sweetwater does so much business, but also they provide such a high level of support for their customers everywhere from before the sale to long after the sale, we're kind of here to help facilitate them with all of that. That means talking to the sales team, the sales engineers themselves, and making sure they are the highest in the industry in product knowledge, making sure that our marketing campaigns are on track, making sure that the brands, whatever they might be, are well represented in Sweetwater's online efforts, and through emails and through all that sort of thing. We also work on promotions for things like GearFest. What kind of special deals can we create? So there are a lot of different aspects to what we do, but we're here full time every day with Sweetwater, interfacing with them to make sure that the brands are taken care of and well represented to Sweetwater, that Sweetwater is reaching out to their customers with good and accurate and timely information, and that the relationship stays really strong between them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And so, what is this might be kind of a funny question, but what does the average day look like for you if there is one? It's like when you wake up, you put your pants on, and then, what does it look like after that? Because there's so many aspects that go into that, right? I imagine one day you might be literally sitting down and be like, and this is how you turn the high pass filter on, and some days you're like, this fuzz is, since you guys represent so many different brands, this fuzz has germanium clipping or whatever,
right.
And so what is there an average day, or is it kind of all over the place?
Every day an adventure, right? Do you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, truly every day is a new adventure. We cover so many different things, and there's over 600 of the SEs, sales engineers on site. And since we have an office here, we're easily accessible. So they can call us on the phone. They can stop by the office in person and talk through different things. And everybody's needs are different. So it could be, how would I spec this system and help system design? Or, hey, I have a customer that has a problem with XYZ product. Just jumping in. And sometimes we're moving product, like new samples from one side of the building to the other for this and that purpose, and getting it ready for the web. And just making sure they're taken care of on all fronts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in general, Sweetwater has a really high level of expected gear knowledge for anybody that works in the building, right?
Totally.
Just to get in the door, you're going through an extensive application process and testing to make sure that you're going to hit. You're going to be able to sustain the gear knowledge to be really helpful to a customer, right? So they're really, really dialed in on training, and so we're engaged in some fairly base level training for anybody who's incoming. For a lot of them, it's review. For some of them, they may have a guitar expertise, but they're not that strong in mixing consoles or interfaces or something like that. So we're doing some fairly ground level training for every incoming sales engineer, but then we're also giving them deeper training as they move on through a lot of different forms.
Yeah, that's something that I knew they did a lot of training, right? But I wasn't aware that the level went where it goes, because I was talking to Phil McKnight, he's one of the guys here doing videos and stuff, and he was talking about the onboarding process and the training process that occurs with a sales engineer in particular. And he said, he's like, I don't think I would pass the test. He's like, I'm in gear all day, every day, but just guitar,
right?
And I'm not sure if I would pass the test either. I'm primarily guitar, but I do a little bit of other stuff. But I don't think I would pass the test. It's weird to think that. It's like I'm obsessed with gear. All I do is think about gear, and I don't think I would pass the initial test to get in the door, which is wild.
I think the secret is that up front, nobody actually passes the test.
Okay.
Everybody obviously has areas of expertise, but Sweetwater has done a really good job of taking someone who is, like yourself, really strong guitar, but maybe could use a little support with how do wireless mics work? How do I make a system scale from 1 channel to 27?
Yeah,
right?
I have no idea. Idea.
So there are very few people out there who inherently have all of that knowledge, but Sweetwater does a great job of taking somebody who has a lot of deep knowledge in one category and potential to learn a lot more, and making sure that they're able to guide their customers through that process, or that they're sitting close to or have access on the phone to somebody who maybe does have that expertise to make sure the customer is given the right thing the first time, every time.
Right. So are there any, this might be another strange question, but are there any common things you run into, as far as everybody in their job seems to like for me, I work with a lot of guitar pedal companies, and or I used to, but I'm very familiar with that world. And so it's not every time, but it's so common. Somebody writes in with a technical issue, and it's almost always user error. like not every time. Sometimes the switch goes bad. Sometimes there is something wrong, but it's often like the battery's dead, or you're using the wrong power supply, or your cable's busted, or yes, if you run a compressor into a high gain amp, it's gonna be really noisy, like things like that that people just don't know about or have never had experience with. And so there's a lot of, it's like, yes, check the battery, check the cables, and it's almost always something like that. Is there just like a common...
Did you power cycle the unit?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Is there a common, like, thing that you run into all the time? I know you rep a lot of brands, but, like, is there something that you're just like, oh, yeah, Craig called with this thing again,
So by the time a question gets to us from a customer, it's usually above that basic level. Again, Sweetwater safeguards against that sort of thing, or I should say is more efficient with that sort of thing in two ways. One, making sure ahead of the sale through that conversation process, as if you're talking with your sales engineer on the phone, they're hopefully going to ask you a lot of the right questions that set the right expectation and eliminate that problem down the chain. It still happens, right?
Of course.
And we all have, brain farts where we're setting something up and we plugged the input to the input instead of the output to the input. Right? It still happens.
Yeah.
And so for that, Sweetwater has a technical support team that handles all the incoming from customers. So we work with sales engineers ahead of the sale. We also sometimes work with them after the sale, but we also support anything that comes through the technical support that is either something that they're not totally sure of and they want to make sure they give the right answer, or if it's above a certain point where we're questioning, is there a problem with the gear that we need to reach out to the manufacturer, or is this just a workflow we're not familiar with? We also keep a lot of different products here on site. So if they have a question about how to use, an Avantis mixer, right, a certain workflow, can you do this? Sometimes we can tell them just based on what we know or what's in the manual, but sometimes we can get them in front of the console and show them this is how you set this up. We're handling that with customers at a more advanced level, usually after it's gone through that support process.
That makes sense.
Hi, I'm Vincent, and I'm here to talk about the Merit Mercury X. My dad's always going on and on about how cool Merit is. He really went off on one about the Mercury X the other day. He said something about a 4,800 hertz sample rate and 99 preset locations in 33 banks, and something along the lines of the most advanced reverb pedal ever devised by man? That's all true, but I only care about one thing. This pedal sounds sick. So make sure you check out the Mercury X and all the other fine products at Maris.us, as well as fine retailers worldwide. All right, Dad, now can I have my Pocky?
How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services, and it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there.
And again, audience, if you're hearing a deep bass rumble right now, we are in Studio B here at Sweetwater, which is very, very isolated, but it is right next to the control room. And so sometimes they're testing the Atmos system in there, and you may hear a little bit of rumble going on right now. I'm actually not sure if you do, because I can't hear it in my headphones, but I can feel it. With
We're
my
jamming.
feet. Yeah, we're rocking out. But but you have some stuff here. So Warm Audio is one of the companies that you represent, and they've supported the podcast in the past, so that's really cool. But you got guitar pedals here, and guitar pedals are my favorite thing. So what else? What else are we? What do we got going on? Let's talk about
you
these
and a
things.
lot of people.
Yeah.
So Warm Audio makes faithful recreations of aspirational gear, right? This is really kind of the calling card for the company. They're musicians, they're music production enthusiasts, and they're really energetic and passionate about that. And so the whole premise here is let's look at recording history or music production history, and let's select these like really special, really iconic products that have been there over time. You know, this microphone from the late 50s, early 60s, this guitar pedal from the 80s, early 90s, whatever it might be. And how do we recreate this thing that you can't buy new anymore? And if you buy it on the used market, it's incredibly expensive and really hard to find. Or there are other recreations of it, but they fall short either in sound or the look and the vibe. Or there are other recreations and they're just not something that most people can afford.
Right.
So they're trying to address all those things, and they do it with really high components, really faithful recreations of circuit design and aesthetics, and they're trying to replicate that sound, but also the feel that you get when you use it, right? And so we have a couple of pedals right now with Warm Audio. One is this, the Foxy Tone Box, which is a faithful homage to the Fox Tone Machine, which, how does that feel? Initial impression?
Beefy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels robust.
And it's really soft, right? It's actually covered in
velvet or something?
Yeah, this orange velvet. So the original Fox Tone Machine, this looks a lot like it. It was covered in velvet. It wasn't orange. They did that sort of to call back to their main colors, which are orange and black.
Right.
But, in terms of the way it feels when you pick it up, but then also the way it plays when you plug it in, it really calls back to that Fox Tone Machine, which is an iconic fuzz.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm all about that fuzz life. The fuzz pedals were like one of the first things that, when I started getting into gear, I got some fuzz, and I was like, "Whoa, hold on, what have we here?" Like, I didn't know guitars could do that. And I've played some of the original ones. I've not played this one, but I played some of the original ones, and it's definitely it's a special circuit for sure. So that's super cool. It's cool that they took the time to even down to the nice velvety touch here, but it also feels like it's not going to. It's a fine velvet. It feels like it's not going to attract quite as much stuff as the originals did.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. That's really cool.
Are you going to create that tag after this, Fuzz Life? Is that
I feel like that's got to happen. It has to be done already, but maybe not. Maybe not. But what's this big beast here?
So this you could use to defend yourself.
Yes.
It's very heavy. The Jet Phaser, this is a combination fuzz and phase. And there are there's a pretty wide range of different cool effect tones you can get out of this thing.
Look at this thing.
It's a faithful recreation of another pedal also called the Jet Phaser, the AP7.
The original one was an Ibanez, I think.
I think it was Roland.
Was it Roland?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
The internet will. Don't worry.
I'm sure that'll be in the comments. But so this is obviously really well built. It does recreate some of the aesthetic of the original, but they kind of added some cool vibe with these wood side panels and stuff. And,
I love it.
Really great pedal. Takes up a lot of room on your pedal board, but almost by itself, it's just like a kind of a tank,
right?
In terms of tone.
That's really cool. I like it a lot. I love big pedals. Pedals of size, as some of my friends call it. They were like, "Yeah, we make POSs," and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "What? Pedals of size?" That's for you, Sean and Ed. But yeah, this is definitely in that category. I'd seen this floating around, and yeah, this is I played an original a long time ago, and I remember loving it, but it was kind of finicky. And so, as vintage units tend to be,
Right, yeah.
and so it's cool that they took the time to, not only make it like the thing, like but they could have just slapped it in a regular enclosure and called it a day. No, they took it to the next level and made it look right as well. So
Right.
it's super cool.
Right.
I love that. I have to play that. That's awesome. So Audio-Technica. Oh no, there's another Warm
Oh,
Audio
yeah.
thing. There is.
Warm Audio
What else we got
DIs.
here?
Yeah, we've got a couple of DIs as well.
Perfect.
DIs are almost a dime a dozen, right? There are a lot of different DIs out there, and there's a wide range of good to great. I love these DIs. I was a little skeptical in the beginning, and we communicate directly with the Warm Audio team, and they said we're going to make a DI or a DI, and I was like, really?
You're like, okay,
okay, all right.
sure, yeah.
But you know what? From the time we first plugged them in and actually shot them out against some stuff, we found a clarity and a frequency extension that even if you're using really high quality DI, you might not know you're missing. So there's an active and a passive version. The passive and active version both have a couple of standout features. There's a variable pad. Now, I myself am something of a reformed guitarist. I kind of got my start playing guitar, playing in bands, singing. But I long ago kind of steered into the engineering path, right?
Yeah.
So studio and live, and I've used a lot of different DIs in both settings. I've never seen a variable pad that I'm not going to have to, if a source is too loud and I've got to pad it down 15 dB because there's a switch, I'm then often overcompensating on the preamp, which is raising the noise floor as well as the signal, right?
Yep.
So having this variable pad right on the source itself, that's not just a push button, it's on or it's off, is actually a really cool feature when it comes to, the purity of the tone in the whole chain.
I think that's a great idea, and honestly, I've ran into that too. It's just like, why is it either
it's either too much or it's not
15
enough.
dB or nothing? Like, why can't we select how much we need? It's not like all the signals are either perfect or 15 dB too hot. Like it's somewhere in the middle most of the time. So yeah, that's a great idea. And it's like, why haven't I seen that before?
Right.
That should have occurred a long time ago.
Yeah, totally. The other features on this are things that you would probably expect, right? You've got ground lift, you've got phase invert. There's also an amp out path or
sweet.
Amp out and through path, right? For all sorts of things there on both of them, which is really convenient to have. It's not in every DI. It's not unheard of, but between those things, really well thought out. This is a Warm Audio's own design along with Cinemag, who makes some of the transformers that are in this and some of the other gear. So it is a unique circuit design, and like I said, just a really great sounding DI. The active will actually run also in passive mode. So if you go with the active DI, you essentially have an active and a passive DI. And it will also run on battery, or it will auto switch over to 48 volts if you're feeding it phantom power from the board.
Sweet.
Just well thought out altogether. They're very well constructed. You can feel that they're very solid and should handle abuse of the live stage really well.
Yeah. I've become a big fan of running a DI of some sort lately whenever I'm recording. And then I didn't used to do that, but it's just I've gotten a little more into the digital amp thing. And so I've found I'm still wanting to play with an amp in the room, like old school style, because it's of how it makes you play.
Right.
But I also like being able to swap amps out willy-nilly and move microphones around digitally and do all that fun stuff in post. And so, having a good DI that with a pass-through lets you kind of have your cake and eat it too. It's like, cool.
Even just as a layering trick, right? If you really want to thicken something up.
Yeah.
Right?
Or even if you're like, okay, I loved my performance on that. That was great. And that felt great. But my mic placement was a little off. And it's like, good thing I have.
Sure.
So that's really cool. And yeah, this is well thought out. It's very, very clever. I like it. It's very cool. So as we talked about, you guys represent a lot of other brands, but we kind of decided to highlight, the ones that were probably the most relevant to the Tone Mob listenership, which is Warm Audio, obviously, and Audio-Technica, which we're using the headphones right now. I think we've probably all had some exposure to that brand at some point through some means, but like I feel like they have some classics that don't quite get recognized as classics by the general audience. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit. What are some of the hidden gems that Audio-Technica has?
First of all, just we like to remind people of all the stuff that Audio-Technica does really well. I mean, everything from the microphones that are world famous and kind of changed the way microphones were manufactured, like the 40 series, to some more advanced stuff with the 50 series, to wireless mics and IEMs, to turntables and headphones for studio and for live and for hi-fi listening. I mean, it's just a really wide-ranging brand. They have so much stuff, and it's all great. I mean, I have to say it's all great, but truly, they don't really put out any stinkers. They've got a really deep product catalog, and there is some stuff that occasionally gets overlooked. So we wanted to talk about some stuff that we really like for specifically for guitar, and that covers electric guitar and also acoustic guitar.
Yeah, so let's go through it.
One of my all-time favorite dynamic mics for to place in front of an amp is this guy. This is the AE2300.
That is a cute little guy.
And it's tiny, right?
Which I like, because the mics I'm using currently, I love the sound of, but they're huge and very difficult to get placement correct. So they're so heavy that I put them on and I'm like, perfect spot. And I let go and they go, Bert. And then I'm like, So this is very appealing to me.
So it's small. It can fit in tight spaces, and it's equally useful on like a snare drum or something, to that effect. There are a couple of standards when we talk about miking up a guitar cabinet. We all think of a couple of mics, right? This one is one I think that not enough people know about. You can stick it in front of any amp and get a better than you're expecting starting point, and you can work with it a lot. But my favorite feature about this is, what do you see? I kind of just sneaked it above the shock mount there, but what do you see right there?
Oh, you got a little low-pass filter.
Yeah, there's a low-pass filter. Not something you're used to seeing on a mic, especially on a dynamic mic that you're going to place really close to a guitar cabinet.
No.
But that's a low pass that's fairly steep, and it starts right around 5.5K.
Okay.
And so if you've got an overbright guitar cabinet or just a lot of hiss, this is a great way of getting rid of some of that and giving you more of what you actually want. Also for a snare drum, if you are just getting too much snare, it will break down some of the over brightness or some of the wash from the cymbals, but it's not going to affect the articulation range, right, of the stick. So it's a really diverse and useful dynamic microphone. Those are two of my favorite applications for it. But this is like my number one go-to dynamic whenever I'm miking a guitar cabinet. It's not the one I use 100% of the time, but it's it's a good solid starting point.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I'm not aware of that one, so that's new. That's news to me. And yeah, it seems like it's as you were talking about, like, I was thinking, like, why would I need a low-pass filter on a guitar? And I got to remember that not everybody plays baritone and tunes down to drop Q. Yeah. And, so yeah, there's country telly pickers that might find that fairly helpful, That's very cool.
Another one of my favorites, do you work with ribbon microphones on guitar cabinets very often?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is something that I would recommend to anybody.
Absolutely.
Ribbons kind of offer their own character. And I really love a lot of ribbons. I've used a lot of different ribbon microphones. In fact, I have to confess, before I was the Audio-Technica rep, I didn't know that Audio-Technica made ribbon microphones, but they do have a couple.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
So until just now.
We have two ribbon microphones, the 4080 and the 4081. This is the 4081. It's nice and slender. But
oh, it's pretty.
Really cool and unique Audio-Technica design around a ribbon microphone. Audio-Technica is not necessarily a Me Too brand. Audio-Technica's approach to engineering, at least, this is I'm gonna give my own personal opinion here. I don't know if Audio-Technica would sanction this, but my personal opinion is they look at stuff that's out there and they say, how can we reinvent that? How can we take our own spin on what that is? And so they entered a a growing market, which was the ribbon market several years ago.
Yeah.
But they didn't build the same ribbon mic that anybody else is making. It's not a vintage recreation, and it's not a mimic of anybody's thing. This is a great go-to ribbon mic, especially for clean or lightly dirty sounds. I like it less on heavily distorted amps personally, but the combination of that dynamic mic and then the 4081 is a really sweet combination for a lot of different stuff. The 4081 is an active ribbon mic, so it wants phantom power. When you use phantom power, you get a little bit higher output, a little bit better signal to noise, but it also, the ribbons tend to be split up into passive or active, right? They want to be powered or they don't want to be powered.
Yeah.
You can also run this same mic in passive mode and get a little bit different sound signature.
Oh, cool.
Right? The sacrifices are because it wants some phantom power, it's going to be a little lower output. You're going to be compensating on the preamp, so you'll raise the noise floor a little bit. If you're miking something loud like a guitar amp, you probably aren't going to notice that.
Yeah.
But you do get a little bit different tones. So there's kind of two mics in one, and if I start with active and I don't like the way that sounds, I might try removing phantom power, bringing up the gain.
Cool.
And going with that.
Very cool. Yeah. I had no idea Audio-Technica made ribbon mics. That's wild. It's weird how you can be so into something and all of a sudden it's just like, oh yeah, this brand I've heard of forever does that too. I mean, I guess that happens all the time with Yamaha.
Yeah.
Like boats. You know, I was like, they make boats. Okay, all right. They're probably good boats.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. I'm really nerdy about trying that kind of stuff. Like I'm obviously obsessed with guitar sounds. So how mic placement and the type of mic affects that is something that I think not enough guitar players actually understand. Anybody that does recording does, but the players themselves are like, why does my amp sound different in the recording than it does in the room? And and it's like, well, it has to do with how you're miking it up and where you're putting your amp. And
truly, just like guitar tone is like a never-ending path. So it's parallel in the studio world. It's a never-ending a never-ending path to try and find the right tone for this instrument, that instrument, whatever it might be. But where those two intersect, man, there's just so much. There's so many mics to try, so many guitars, so many amps, so many different combinations of different things, and so that's where a lot of fun lies.
Definitely.
We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby because, let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Goodhertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblissaudio.com. I think you're going to like what you find.
What other surprises do we have over here?
So I have a lot of favorites when it comes to miking acoustic guitar, but I'm going to show you something that's really cool and unique. And I don't know how well this is going to translate by itself. We'll have to get you a shot because I don't know if they'll be able to see on the camera. You notice this is shaped really similarly to that 4081. Yeah. This is the 5045. This is one of my favorite acoustic guitar mics of all time. I also love it on overheads. I love it on piano. Any like harmonically complex acoustic source.
Okay.
This is really, really great sounding. It's very, very even. But it's, I don't know if you can see in the light light there. What type of microphone would you guess that is?
I would guess it's a ribbon.
It looks like a ribbon, doesn't it?
Does, yeah.
It's actually a condenser microphone.
Oh, okay.
But that's a really unique looking diaphragm, isn't it?
It is.
It's actually a rectangular element.
That's what I'm seeing it in there. That's why I thought it was a ribbon.
So when we think condenser mics, every condenser mic has a round element, right? So Audio-Technica took a really different approach with the 50 series, and there are just a couple of mics in that range: the 5040, the 5047, and the 5045. And these are, they sit at the really high end of like studio production mics for Audio-Technica. They're really the special stuff.
Yeah.
This rectangular element design is addressing an interesting problem with condenser microphones, especially around diaphragms. We've got an unconventional shape of a diaphragm, and then there's a continuously variable tensioning all the way around that capsule to minimize the sorts of resonances that naturally develop with a round diaphragm.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
So we get a really pure tone. And then a really clean signal path, and there's a transformer on the output. We know that when we hit transformers really hard, they add a little texture, right? They get very musical when we hit them hard. So it handles quiet or loud sound sources very well. The harder you push it, the more the transformer you might experience. But in front of acoustic guitar, very clean, very even, very honest sounding, and it really lets the natural character of the guitar show. And if you compare it to a small or a large diaphragm condenser microphone and a more traditional miking, you'll actually hear a really unique harmonic overtone pattern because we're eliminating so many of those resonances.
Right on. It's also just, because I haven't used it and I can only speak to this, it's very pretty.
No, it's lovely. Yeah.
It's a very attractive mic.
And the surface area is actually, although it's in form factor, it kind of looks like a small diaphragm condenser. It's actually got the surface area of a large diaphragm.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
I also really enjoy the shock mount on it.
Yes.
If you see, there's a lock on it, and it's super simple to do. Like if you're in a hurry in a studio session and you need to swap out mics really quick, you don't want to have to dink around with the shock mount bands, making sure that those are all in the right spot. Like you just open it, put it in there, lock it, and it's in place.
It is, and it's tight.
Very secure.
It's not going anywhere.
We don't lose very many of those off stands. Unless you forgot to lock it.
Right.
Then all bets are off.
That's on you. Remember that's the user error I was talking about. All right, what's next?
So we also, Audio-Technica hits the podcast market in a really important way, right?
That's a thing?
That apparently there's some people out there making these things called podcasts.
Oh, they sound like nerds.
Yeah. No, they definitely are.
Oh, okay.
But the right kind of nerds.
Okay,
the right kind of nerds.
good.
So we've got a couple of microphones that are really great for all sorts of things, right? But vocal production has been kind of a fixture for a long time, and specifically when we're trying to do spoken word, there are some specific styles of microphone, right, that we might gravitate toward.
Yeah, pretty famous ones,
right?
Yeah.
So with a broadcast style microphone, we're usually talking about something that looks like an elongated cylinder. It's usually and address. It's usually a larger diaphragm dynamic microphone, right?
Yes.
So there's some common themes that you might see, and we actually have one of these that we wanted to show you. This is the SM7B made by Shure. It's a fantastic mic. I've used these endlessly in studio production. They're very musical mics. They're very useful. We have addressed this category with Audio-Technica with a mic called the BP40. I don't know if it's in the shot right now, but we can probably show it a little
I think
later.
it's a little bit out, but I was going to wander over there and do a little side by side. Since you are, well, most of you, I'm assuming, are used to my voice, And I use an SM7 quite often. It's not my normal mic, but I definitely have used it a lot. And I'm talking into one right now. I thought it might be kind of fun to set up the Audio-Technica and go over there. And I'm going to just wander out of the shot real quick, but the listeners will be able to hear this. So I'm going to turn that on right now. I'm going to pause this real quick. Okay. We're rolling again. And now I'm talking into the other microphone, which I'm not in the camera. Don't worry, I'm still here, everybody. But I don't have my headphones on over here, so I can't hear exactly the difference. Oh, thank you, Krystal. And now I can. Ooh, it's crispier. That's very cool. Wow. Wow, I like that a lot.
Yeah, so I think you might have muted my mic and not yours.
Oh, did I? Really?
Yeah.
Well, you can slide over there.
Here,
That's fine.
you can
We'll rock and roll it. It's fine.
All right. So we're just sharing mics here. No big deal.
This is truly professional.
So the BP40, the approach here is it's a lot more mid forward, right? It's a lot more, especially high mid forward. So it's a lot more in your face when it comes to a vocal microphone.
It is.
Sometimes that's a really good thing, right? Especially if you need to cut. So in addition to being great as a broadcast style microphone for something like a podcast, it's a really good mic to sing on, especially for harder styles of music. It's a mic that I've put in front of a kick drum or in front of a Leslie cabinet or a bass cabinet or something like that. It's kind of fits in this realm where we want a larger diaphragm dynamic microphone, but we want a little bit more of that mid aggression for music production. So really cool sounding microphone. All we've done to that, by the way, there's no EQ or anything, right? There's just the high pass, right? We've rolled off some of the low frequency information to eliminate low frequency rumble and plosives and things like that. There's also some pop control that's built into that diaphragm. You can see there's a lot of space. So there's some baffling that happens between you and that actual diaphragm.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. Like, I don't know what frequency range exactly it would be, but specifically in some of the high mids seem like accentuated a little bit versus what I'm used to hearing in my voice. I hear my voice a lot. It's kind of annoying, but yeah, this is a nice change. I like it. I'm always looking for different flavor. That's super cool.
Yeah, and that's the whole name of the game, right? Matching up a mic to the source, finding the flavor that you like on that particular day with that particular sound source, and perfect world. We can try different stuff over time.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
So the BP40 has a younger brother or sister or sibling, we'll call it, called the 2040.
Yeah.
The 2040 sits in the 20 series. The 20 series from Audio-Technica. Do you want to hop back over here and we'll talk about the 20 series a little bit more? Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
We're back in place. We're back.
Great. So we
didn't get your spine cracking though.
No, we should have mic'd that up.
We should have mic'd that up.
I'm sorry.
As
Might
he
have another
migrated,
one
just like it was like, oh man.
Talk to me at the end of the podcast. I'm very crunchy. Yeah, so we were saying the BP40 has a younger sibling, we'll call it, called the 2040, the AT2040.
Okay.
And the 2040 is a lot less expensive, but it's in the same vein as that microphone. It's a bit smaller. I wish we had one to show you here today, but we realized as we were coming to this that we have one out on loan to a sales engineer right now who's using it for stuff at home. So we didn't have it here today.
This is absurd. This podcast is over.
Right. So the 2040 is a lot less expensive. It is in the same vein. In fact, it's surprisingly close to the BP40 in terms of overall sound. It's a little less bright, but a really awesome value at $99.
Oh.
The 20 series from Audio-Technica, if you're not familiar, was kind of put on the roadmap by mics like the 2020, which I'm holding right here. This is a 2020. The 2035, the 2050. somebody watching this is going to go, oh yeah, I have that one, right?
Yeah.
The 2020 USB has been a really popular microphone for content creators, especially. And so another microphone that we talk about all the time when it comes to producing your own content and just being a really well-rounded, useful microphone for not very much money is the AT2020. It's fairly simple in presentation. It's just a cardioid mic. Condenser microphone, large diaphragm, and it's $99, but it is one of the flattest, most utilitarian, like put it in any sort of situation mics you can get for the money.
That's cool.
And so it makes a great vocal mic for spoken word, great vocal mic for singing. You can put it in front of an acoustic guitar. You can do a lot of different sources with just this one large diaphragm mic. So for a lot of engineers, myself included, this is one of their first studio mics that they ever own, right?
Oh,
Something
okay.
that's easily
Yeah.
affordable. But even as you graduate into more and more involved microphones, you know, a 4040 or a 4050 or a 50 series, or even, you know, some vintage, you know, U47 or something like that, right? There's just a ton of mics that over time you find more and more cool uses for. But I've never stopped using the 2020. It's always close by because there's always something I can put it on and get good to great.
Right.
Right. So really useful tool. And that's kind of what the calling card of the 20 series is. The 20 series category is, I can't believe how much functionality that I can get for so few bucks.
Right.
And it really is a great starting point for a lot of engineers.
Sweet. Well, that was fun. That was a fun overview. You know, I think myself, I was definitely educated on things. I'm sure some of the listeners / viewers, hello viewers, I kind of forget about you sometimes. Sorry. You know, that's just some good information, some good options out there that a lot of people, you know, weren't probably familiar with. So Thank you for bringing those to the table and hanging out today. You know, this has been a fun time. I do traditionally close out these episodes with some classic questions.
Uh-oh. You didn't prepare us for these.
I know.
So.
I don't prepare anyone for them. So, so you said you're kind of a recovering guitar player. Krystal, do you play guitar, or what's your thing?
I don't play guitar, but I'm a vocalist and I play saxophone and flute.
Okay, so you may or may not have an answer to this first question. If you do, great. If not, I'll ask you a different one. But the first question is, what is your favorite Boss pedal?
Oh my gosh. Favorite Boss pedal? Mm-hmm. So this takes me back. I mean, everybody had a Metal Zone, right?
Has
See,
currently.
that shows what I know.
Yeah,
I don't anymore.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
I remember
All right.
when, you know,
Nobody's
you could get a Metal Zone for, what was it, like $75 or something.
I mean,
like
I
that,
think they're still.
Are they still?
I don't know if they're brand new that much. I think they're a lot more than that new. I could be wrong.
It was still.
But you can acquire
It was still
one
pretty
for
new,
that.
but
Yeah.
it hit where, like, I was, you know, saving up all my pennies, you know, to try and afford the next pedal back then. And there weren't nearly the selection of pedals or
Right.
the quality of pedals in those days. But like, I mean, the Metal Zone was, everybody had one.
Yeah.
Or a couple.
You got to have a Metal
Right.
Zone. You got to keep it on hand. I actually made a video a couple months ago where I took a Metal Zone and I ran it into an HM2. And,
Okay.
And, you know, it chugs.
Yeah,
You know, like,
throwback, all right.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, this is great. I love this. It was kind of noisy though. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty noisy. But so Krystal, so like, just what's your favorite instrument when you're trying to unwind? You said you played a couple different things. Like if you're just like, man, I had a rough day and I just want to like kind of like for me, I do that with HM2s. But like, what do you just pick up and noodle around on as if, you know, like guitarists kind of do?
I mean, my primary instrument's probably my voice. So yeah, singing in the car,
Oh.
recording demos at home. I have a band, so we're constantly writing stuff together.
What's your band? Let's talk about it.
We're called Our Name Is Taken.
Oh, what style of music?
If I had to label it, probably alternative rock.
Cool.
We kind of dance around a couple different styles and genres.
Well, there you go. Is it available streaming anywhere?
Streaming everywhere near you.
All right, go listen to it.
Shameless
right.
plug.
There you go. Perfect. All right, final question. And this is the one that gets a little bit dicey. People get kind of worked up about this one. I mean, this might be like your jobs, so this is like a big deal.
Okay. Are mic drops acceptable?
It's kind of hard to do in this context.
Don't
but
underestimate it.
I mean, here's a mic you could drop if you want.
I'll probably drop the Shure mic. Just
What is your favorite kind of pizza?
everything.
Everything.
Like the one with everything on it.
Oh,
all the vegetables,
like the
all
Supreme.
the meats. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
Supreme's where it's
selective.
at.
Yeah.
I think so.
You have a favorite pizzeria? You like thin crust, thick crust, regional styles? Like, what are we talking
I
about?
mean, I
here?
don't discriminate when it comes to pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm about pizza the way I'm about microphones, which is there's a time and a place for just
You only
about
eat
everything.
Audio-Technica pizza?
There is
No,
bad
there's an
pizza,
idea.
but it's bad pizza is thankfully a lot less common than really good pizza.
That's true. That's true. I have criticized this one particular pizza place that is actually out of business now in my
there
neck
you
of the
go.
woods, and I hate to see any small business go out of business, but they made really bad pizza. It was horrible. So you
I can tell
know.
you the weirdest pizza I've ever had.
Oh, what is it?
So if you go to Domino's in Taiwan,
Yeah. All right.
okay, starting point. No joke. I had a pizza once that had hot dogs rolled up in the crust. It had peas, corn, squid, and chicken wings on it.
You know,
That was a weird
Wasn't
pizza.
expecting the last one.
that is the weirdest pizza I've ever
It
heard
was.
of.
I would like to say it was really good. It was just kind of strange.
I think you lost me at the peas and corn. I'm down with the squid. I'm down with the hot dog.
No peas and no corn.
No peas and corn. First of all, I don't really like peas and corn to begin with. But second of all, like definitely not with cheese. I don't know. Nah.
I don't know. I don't know if they still make that or if that was like a one-off thing.
I feel like
but
they pulled a prank on you.
we were
They were like, "Oh yeah, this is our pizza that we make. Yeah, here, have this."
yeah. I don't
Clearing
know.
out the fridge.
Yeah, stupid Americans. I guess. I don't know. Again, they didn't do it especially for us. We actually weren't planning to go to Domino's, but we saw that pizza on a banner, and we had to try it.
Okay.
And we did try it, and now I've tried that.
Yeah, you've tried it.
Yeah.
You've had an experience that not many Americans have had. So look at
There you go.
Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. This was a lot of fun, and I learned some stuff. So that's
Cool.
always good. Always
Right on.
good. But yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you out on the floor. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Thanks for having us.
All right, everybody. For Dan and Krystal, good luck and good tones.
Alrighty, folks, there you go. There you have it. There it is. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I really want to thank Dan and Krystal for coming on and spending the time with me, and apologies to them for the supremely delayed release of this episode. But hey, at least it came out in the 2022 calendar year, so it still counts, right? Sure, that's what I'm going to tell myself so I can sleep at night. Anyhow, if you like this podcast, if you like these episodes, if you get something out of these, if you could please consider going to Patreon, where for $5 a month, you can get additional bonus episodes beamed right to your ears every single week. There's a sneak peek episode there right now with somebody who plays guitar for some person named Paul McCartney. Just saying. I'm just saying. It's there right now, and the Patreon people get to listen to it. They're hearing it. They're probably hearing it right as you hear this. Wouldn't you like to get involved in that? Well, there's a whole bunch of bonus episodes on Patreon. Additionally, for $3 a month, you can get the ad-free feed, so you don't have to deal with the ads on this podcast, and you help me out quite a bit. Both of those options help me out a lot. And of course, if you sign up for the higher tier, the $5 a month level where you get the bonus episodes, you also get access to the ad-free feed as well. So thank you to everyone who does that. It is immensely helpful. And please, if you are doing any holiday shopping this season, please, please, please consider using the supportive affiliate links that are tied to this podcast, tonemob.com/reverb or tonemob.com/sweetwater. Both of those help out immensely. They really, really, truly do. And you get the gear you want, and you help support this show a little bit. All right, folks, more fun stuff coming for you this week. I've got a ridiculous YouTube video that will release probably this Friday if everything goes well, and you're not going to want to miss that. So go subscribe to the Tone Mob YouTube channel. Check me out on all of the socials. all that good stuff. I appreciate you. Thank you for spending time with me. Bye-bye.
One last thing before we totally sign off here, I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.
Well, hey friends, my name is Zach Lupiton. You may know me from the band Dust Bowl Revival, but I also host a music discovery podcast called The Show on the Road. For the last 5 seasons, I've been able to dive deep and have intimate chats with folks like the Lumineers, Ani DeFranco, Wolfpack, Keb Mo, Lake Street Dive, Bela Fleck, and more. So guess what? After 150 conversations with some of my favorite songwriters from around the world, we are bringing brand new episodes to the Osiris Network. New interviews and intimate acoustic performances will be coming at you this summer. And which episodes are coming next, you ask?
I am Zach Goody, the lead singer for the band Smash Mouth.
Our band is called Milky Chance. We are based in Berlin.
My name is David Shaw. I sing and write songs with my band, The Revivalists.
Trust me, these conversations go some wild places. So subscribe to The Show on the Road on Osiris, and we'll see you soon.
This is the story of Whitney Houston.
This is the story of Kurt Cobain.
Of George Michael, of Otis Redding, of Amy Winehouse, of Michael Hutchence, Bob Marley. This is the story of Prince.
It's a new podcast series
about how they died, why they died, and why we're still talking about them so long after.
It's like nothing you've ever heard before.
It's storytelling.
But it's more than that, because rock stars,
they tell us how we feel. They change our mood.
They change the clothes we wear, the people we hang out with,
the way we remember things.
It's them who give us those ludicrous moments, the ones where you're
jumping around, singing your heart out, feeling understood.
And it's those moments we'll help you remember, the ones you're thinking about right now.
That feeling.
That feeling.
It's coming soon from Crowd Network.
Just search for Death of a Rock Star on your podcast app.
And subscribe now.